Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone. Authorities in Orange County, California say that they have arrested 2 suspected thieves this week who were found driving a customized Mercedes that police described as something out of a James Bond movie. According to reports, the incident took place sometime on May 17th, when police in the city of Irvine received a call about 2 suspicious people in a local parking garage. The person who called with the tip said he recognized not only the 2 suspects, but also their car, a 2008 Mercedes-Benz C300, which they believed was involved in a recent string of vehicle burglaries. When police arrived at the scene and investigated the vehicle, they were surprised by what they found. It was like something out of a spy movie. According to Irvine police, the vehicle was equipped with a license plate flipper that could change the rear license plate of the Mercedes with just the push of a button. The vehicle also had some sort of, quote, elaborate gas siphoning device, which could be used to steal fuel from other vehicles and transfer it directly into the Mercedes' gas tank. In addition to these bizarre finds, police also allegedly found a wealth of evidence pointing to criminal activity, including burglary tools, stolen property, and signs that the 2 suspects were engaging in identity theft. Further investigation also reportedly led police to recover a vehicle the 2 suspects had previously stolen. The 2 suspects, who have since been identified as 37-year-old Yasmin Kambour and 44-year-old Chris Huynh, were arrested at the scene on suspicion of vehicle burglary, vehicle theft, identity theft, possession of stolen property, and possession of burglary tools. At the time of this recording, Kambour is being held in the Orange County Jail on a $95,000 bond, while Huynh has since been released. Authorities in Memphis, Tennessee are crediting a local fast food employee with helping to save a kidnapping victim this week, after the employee noticed a note that the victim had left behind, begging for help. According to reports, the incident began at around 5 p.m. on May 15th, when officers from the Memphis Police Department received a call about a potential kidnapping situation at a Kentucky Fried Chicken in the city's Hickory Hills neighborhood. When police arrived at the scene, they were greeted by one of the fast food restaurant's employees, who explained that they had found a note that they believed had been left behind by a female customer who was recently in the store. The woman had been accompanied by a man, and her note stated that she was in desperate need of help. Not only did the keen eye of the KFC employee lead to the recovery of the note in the first place, but thanks to a description they provided of the victim and her alleged abductor, police were able to track the pair down a short time later. When they did, the male suspect took off running, though was quickly captured and arrested. He has since been identified as 23-year-old Diego Glay. When police questioned the female victim, she told them that she had indeed left behind the note at the KFC. She said that she had been in a relationship with Glay, but that when she had tried to break up with him, he had held her against her will and physically assaulted her. She said that Glay had been forcing her to stay with him in cheap hotels around the city, during which time he had threatened her with a handgun. At the time of this recording, Glay remains in police custody and is being held on a $35,000 bond. Authorities in Olmsted County, Minnesota say that a 53-year-old woman is in custody this week after she tried to flee from police who attempted to pull her over, only to become trapped in 150 feet of freshly poured cement. According to reports, the bizarre situation began just after 4:30 p.m. on May 16th, when a police officer in the town of Rochester noticed a woman blow through a red light in her vehicle while yelling through a bullhorn. Apparently, the 53-year-old woman in question was already well known to police by this point, as over the last few days, she had gotten into the annoying habit of driving down the street in her vehicle and screaming about religion from the same bullhorn. Needless to say, authorities had received plenty of complaints. However, when the officer attempted to initiate a traffic stop after witnessing the woman run the red light, she refused to stop, and instead, she took off. Because Rochester police apparently have a policy of not initiating vehicle chases unless a suspect is an immediate danger to the public, the 53-year-old was allowed to more or less go on her way for the time being. That being said, it didn't take long for her to find herself in trouble again, as witnesses observed her continuing to run red lights and drive erratically. At about 5:26 p.m., the woman's ridiculous behavior caught the attention of another Rochester police officer, who also attempted to conduct a traffic stop. Once again, the 53-year-old woman accelerated and tried to escape, though this time, she wouldn't make it quite as far. After driving toward Broadway Avenue, the woman crashed through a number of construction barricades, sending her sailing into about 150 feet of freshly poured concrete. While the woman continued to try and drive her way out of the quagmire, the concrete was victorious, and the 53-year-old remained trapped until she could be placed under arrest. According to the team in charge of pouring the concrete that the woman ruined, it's estimated that she did about $30,000 to $40,000 worth of damages. She has now been charged with 2 counts of fleeing police in a motor vehicle, 1 count of first-degree damage of property, and 1 count of driving a motor vehicle without a license. Perhaps most importantly of all, it's said that following the 53-year-old's arrest, she was also taken for a psych evaluation. Authorities in Fairfield County, Connecticut say that a 16-year-old suspect is in custody this week after he allegedly fatally stabbed another teenager outside of a house party. According to reports, the incident began just before midnight on May 14th, when residents in a suburban neighborhood in the city of Shelton heard screams coming from outside a residence on their street. At the time, a house party full of high school students was reportedly in full swing. When police were called to the scene, they found 4 teenagers suffering from stab wounds, one of whom was 17-year-old James "Jimmy" McGrath. Jimmy was a junior at Fairfield College Preparatory School, a Jesuit school for high school boys. While 3 of the 4 victims suffered non-life-threatening injuries, sadly, Jimmy could not be saved, and died sometime after arriving at the hospital. While few details are currently available about the events that led up to the stabbing, most reports we came across mention a fight between several of the students attending the house party on the night of the incident. Several days after the stabbing, local media reported that a 16-year-old boy from the city of Milford had turned himself into police in connection with the case. He has since been identified as Raul Eliavalle, and has been charged with 1 count of murder and 3 counts of first-degree assault. Understandably, Jimmy's friends and family are reportedly heartbroken by his sudden and tragic death. He has been described as a gifted and natural athlete who was on his high school's lacrosse and football teams, and who was a loving and happy person with a big heart. At the time of this recording, a fundraiser set up in Jimmy's name to help his family handle his funeral expenses has amassed more than $124,000. Authorities in DeKalb County, Indiana say that 2 people are dead this week and 2 others are in police custody after a group of armed home intruders broke into a man's house and demanded money. According to reports, the incident began just before dawn on May 15th, when a homeowner in the 1600 block of State Road 8, just outside of the city of Auburn, awoke to the sounds of his dog barking. When he did, he noticed 3 people in his house going through his things. When the intruders realized that the man was awake, they held a gun to his head, proceeded to steal more items from him, and demanded cash. The man ended up agreeing to write them a check for $500, explaining that the thieves knew he didn't have any cash on him because they had already taken it. It turns out that this same group of alleged thieves, 42-year-old Tabitha Johnson, 42-year-old Sean Cruz, 36-year-old Ramika LaSharon Moore, and 22-year-old Dylan Scott Moorfield, had actually robbed the homeowner just the day before in a nearly identical incident. The homeowner told police that one of the suspects, Tabitha Johnson, had stayed with him several times over the years. During the first burglary, she said that she needed thousands of dollars because, rather ironically, some people, quote, thought she had stolen it from them. The homeowner had turned over whatever cash he had at the time, likely assuming that this would be the end of it. However, when the group of thieves had returned for the second time and were still violently threatening him, the homeowner decided that his life was in danger. Managing to grab his shotgun, he fatally shot Moorfield and Moore, then forced Johnson to walk outside, where the fourth suspect, Cruz, was keeping lookout. Once there, the homeowner made Cruz dial 911. When police arrived at the scene, they found the bodies of Moorfield and Moore and placed the other two suspects under arrest. Tabitha Johnson and Sean Cruz have now each been charged with 2 counts of felony murder and burglary with a deadly weapon. The homeowner is not facing any charges. Authorities in Wichita, Kansas say that they have identified the culprit behind a truly gross crime this week after a woman reportedly defecated in a local beauty store, causing damage to product. According to reports, the incident began on May 10th when the female suspect entered a beauty supply store in the 2200 block of East 21st Street. After walking around the store for a bit, the woman defecated in one of the aisles before taking off. In a subsequent post to social media about the case, Wichita police stated that the bowel movement was, quote, significant enough that 8 wigs were destroyed as a result. While the identity of the suspect that many have jokingly referred to as the poopatrator or public enemy number 2 remained a mystery for several days, police now say that thanks to surveillance footage taken of the crime and tips from concerned citizens, she has been successfully identified. However, that information has yet to be shared with the public. Police also say they have yet to uncover the motive behind the incident, suggesting that they believe the defecation was intentional. As for the surveillance footage of the crime, police were nice enough not to post it, jokingly saying, quote, for the good of you all, we are not posting the footage of the offending fecal assault. At the time of this recording, it's unclear what, if any, criminal charges the woman could be facing. Authorities in Harris County, Texas say that 4 people are dead this week after a man allegedly shot and killed his wife, young daughter, and mother-in-law before turning the gun on himself. According to reports, the incident began just before 8 a.m. on May 19th, when police received a call about gunshots at an apartment complex on the 9700 block of Cypress Wood Drive in the community of Spring. When officers arrived at the scene, they found 4 people dead in one of the units there, all of whom were members of the same family. The deceased have not been identified by name, but were said to be a 36-year-old woman, her 64-year-old mother, her 4-year-old daughter, and her 43-year-old estranged husband. It's believed the 43-year-old was responsible for the shooting, and the weapon believed to have been used in the crime was reportedly recovered from the scene. Authorities say that the 43-year-old suspect and his wife had been going through divorce proceedings over the past few months, and that he had been accused of being physically abusive towards his family. Neighbors told police that the man had also slashed his wife's car tires on at least one occasion. While few additional details about the crime have been reported at the time of this recording, it's said that on the morning of the shooting, the 36-year-old woman was getting ready for work when she was ambushed by her husband. Shortly after, neighbors had called police to report 4 gunshots in quick succession. The situation is still developing. If you're a regular viewer of our Crimes of the Week series, then you might remember that back at the beginning of March, we brought you the tragic story of Yanira Cedillos. Yanira was reported missing in Moses Lake, Washington, after she failed to show up for work on March 4th. The previous night, she had been out with friends celebrating her 30th birthday at a local casino. An investigation revealed that Yanira's night out with her friends had ended on a sour note when she split up with them in the parking lot of a bar following an argument. A short time later, she called another friend and asked to be picked up nearby. However, when they arrived, they were unable to locate her. When the friend called Yanira, they were initially unable to reach her. When Yanira called back, the friend could hear a male voice in the background yelling and demanding to know who was on the phone before the call disconnected. Yanira called back one more time a moment later, telling the friend that she was fine. After that, no one saw or heard from Yanira again. After speaking with more witnesses, police learned that on the night of her disappearance, Yanira had been repeatedly called, texted, and messaged on social media by her ex-boyfriend, 27-year-old Juan Gastelum. He had demanded to know where she was and who she was with. Based on this evidence, police did a little more digging into Gastelum's activities on March 3rd and were able to determine that he had picked up Yanira after she had split up with her friends. They also obtained additional evidence showing that he had driven her back to her home at the Heron Creek Apartments in Moses Lake. Evidence found inside the apartment led them to believe that within minutes of arriving, Yanira was murdered. Several hours later, Gastelum was caught on video cleaning out his car and disposing of several items at a nearby gas station. Though Gastelum was quickly charged with Yanira's murder, at the time of our last report, authorities were still searching for her remains, and it was unclear if they had any leads. This week, after more than 2 months, representatives from the Moses Lake Police Department announced that they had sadly recovered Yanira's remains from a remote wooded area in Walla Walla County. According to reports, investigators were led to the area on May 12th after updated data was recovered from Gastelum's cell phone. The phone had been tracked for several minutes off of Highway 12, just out of Wallula Junction on the day Yanira went missing. When police arrived in the area, it took just minutes for them to recover Yanira's remains, which had been hidden in a sleeping bag and concealed under some tree limbs and leaves. A positive identification was made following an autopsy on May 16th. Although the discovery of Yanira's body is definitely bittersweet, as it removes any hope of her being found alive, authorities say that they hope that this week's development will help to bring some closure to the 30-year-old's family. The case against Juan Gastelum is still ongoing. That's it for this edition of Crimes of the Week. If you enjoyed our video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this, making sure to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest releases. Thank you for watching.